Hello and welcome to Module 22, Endpoint Protection. So in this module, we are going to talk about the end devices and how to protect them. So we'll talk about the anti-malware protections. We'll take a look at the HIPs, the host-based intrusion prevention systems, and why they are needed for. And then we'll take a look at some application security. All right, be ready to take notes. All right, endpoint threats. So there is of course, we want to protect the end devices, your workstations, everything that is being used to connect to the network. So computers, printers, laptops, desktops and laptops are the computers, pads, you name it. Whatever you need to connect to your network needs to be protected one way or another. Those are called endpoints. So endpoints, please write these two down. There are two internal LAN elements that you need to worry about, the hosts and the network infrastructures. Like the infrastructures, I'm talking about the switches, the IPS systems, and all of those, and the servers, of course. All of these are endpoints, and the infrastructure, such as the layer 3 and the layer 2 switches, right? So in this scenario, take a picture of this because I want to explain this to you. So when you connect, you have a VPN, that means tunneled. The data is encrypted and then we encapsulate it in a new packet. The VPN appliance right here will decrypt the data from the VPN and pass it on to an ASA firewall to either allow you through into the internal network or send you to a DMZ zone. That's pretty much what this is, because a lot of the servers outside is you want to be able, if anybody wants to access your email or your web, I'm assuming it's a DMZ, right? So you may go through an email security appliance to check your email before they send it to the email server, or a web security appliance before they send it to the web server. Check it out. Or your DHCP server, everybody in here would go through here to get their IP addresses, for example. Data may go right through and go through an intrusion prevention system if it's not sent to any of these servers. IPS looks for signatures of attacks to see if somebody's trying to break into the network that bypass the firewall because it's legit, but it might be an attack to overwhelm the servers or the users in there, right? You may have to go through a AAA server to authenticate you, to validate your name, your password, and then authorize you, even though and then the firewall will allow you in and you may do your work. You still need to be protected. After all of these layers of security, the host might be you may download a virus, right? All right, so you're definitely going to need an antivirus or anti-malware software on your computer. So please write this sentence down, that bullet point. You have the Windows Defender. That's pretty much all you need for a Windows-based computer. But you could have the Cisco AMP for endpoints. Norton Secure, McAfee is a pretty good one. And there's a whole bunch of others, of course. The host-based firewall, remember, a firewall is like a security guard, is what's permitted or what's denied to coming in. So Windows Defender already has a firewall and with security advanced. So you already have a firewall and it's enabled, and there's a whole bunch of the inbound rules are in there, the app out rules. You should be familiar with how to configure or change these rules. For example, there's one rule where you're not allowed, by default, you're not allowed to reply to a ping command, right? There's an exercise that you should be familiar on how to disable that in a testing environment, and that's what we do in the lab. All right, so host-based firewalls are installed on your system. Host-based security suites, there's plenty of them. So, and you can go out and purchase as many as you want. I mean, not as many as you want, but ones that you think that will be the best available. But I think Windows antivirus program and firewalls are pretty much covers everything. You really don't need anything else. And if you are the one that, let me just go back, don't really just in there downloading stuff on your computer, then you should be okay. One thing you should know, Independent Testing Laboratory, AV Test, please write that down. This is reviews all the host-based softwares that we installed, and they rate them. So write this down, so you should be familiar with that. All right, network-based malware. So we're talking about they can have the next generation firewalls, IPSs, network access control, some gateway security, and even the endpoint security. All of that could be done, are capable of doing all that information for you. I mean, you could do all of that way ahead of being passed to the endpoint itself. So you have to go through all of this before you even get to the endpoint security itself. But you know, if you don't protect the endpoint, then the whole idea of protecting the network really fails. All right, you need to take these 4 bullet points down. These are the 4 different appliances or products that Cisco offers to protect and network-based protection, malware protection. So you have the advanced malware protection. This is pretty much like for viruses. You have the email security appliance. That's for spam emails and protecting your emails, including your attachments. Then you have the web security appliance. That also that takes care of anything that filters out websites and make sure the websites that you go to are legit. And then you got the network admission control. This is to make sure it only going to permit authorized and compliant system to connect to your network. So it's a good idea to think about all of these 4 different appliances are set up on your network at the edge of your network, and they have to go through them before they get to the endpoints. All right, let's look at the HIPS, the host-based intrusion prevention system. All right, please write these 4 bullet points down. The host-based firewalls, you have the Windows Defender firewall. That's already, you get that part of the Windows operating system. And then for Linux, you have the IP tables or the NF tables. I mean, this is the latest and the greatest. But the IP tables, you have to, for Linux machines, you have to configure them yourselves. You type in your actual rules in there, like a config file. Then you have the TCP wrappers. This is rule-based access control and logging for the Linux systems. Keep track of everything that is happening on your Linux device. Again, please write these down for host-based firewalls. All right. IPSs, intrusion detection system. This is really done to detect if there is any attacks or malware on your system. Heads are the host intrusion detection system. So that has to be installed on your computer directly, on your device. It cannot be installed anywhere else. So even though you may have a NIP, which is a network intrusion prevention system, you also have to have one on the host. Okay, so even when the data gets to you at the final destination, it still needs to be analyzed. So please write down those 2 bullet points. They could be, the heads, they use 2 different types of operations or strategies to detect intrusion or malware or attacks. So they use an anomaly based. So what they do is they have a baseline that already have learned. So it may take weeks, months, or even years to detect a baseline. What's normal? So a head software will have to go through and creating a baseline. And then everything that comes into the network will be compared to this baseline. If there's an anomaly, then they will flag it as an intrusion. If not, then it will go through past. But you may have to tweak this, if your system is working 24/7 and so it may be a little bit difficult. What's normal traffic? What's coming in and out? If you do not do anything at 2 o'clock in the morning and all of a sudden and that was in the baseline, and all of a sudden you have a spike of traffic coming in at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's an anomaly. That's going to flag that there's a problem. You could also have configured the HIDs on a base policy, so that you can, here are the rules, and if anything that comes into the system that does not adhere to these rules, that immediately, or violates the rules, that immediately will flag that there's an intrusion, right? You may shut down the software or shut down the connection to the, or whatever. Or you may even communicate to the firewall to block the data from coming in. All right, so the HIDS products. So the HIDS products, you may use the OCES, please write this down. The OSS, the OSSEC. This will analyze your intrusions detection to let you know, to check the integrity of the data, the system logs. So OSSEC monitors the system logs on the host and also conducts file integrity checking. So please write down those last 3 bullet points down. Although you can have Cisco, AMP, Alien, and Tripwire, but the open source HIDS, security OSCC, is probably, a lot of people get to use this because it's free. All right, let's take a look. Finally, let's take a look at the application security. On the application security, the first thing you need to look at is we need to look at what is the attack surface. The attack surface is everything, please write this down, the total sum of vulnerabilities on a system that is accessible to the attacker. So it could be the software, it could be ports open on the server, hosts, wireless networks, anything that I can break into, that is all of them together, is called the attack surface. So the 3 components of the attack surface, please write those 3 things down. You have the network attack surface, anything vulnerability in the networks, the firewalls, there is no firewalls or misconfigured firewalls, routers, or anything like that on the edge of the network. Then you have software attacks, connected through the web pages, the cloud, host-based software applications that you are downloading. Then you got the human attack surface, and that will exploit weaknesses in the user behavior, using social engineering. Maybe they'll gather information from you, being able to steal your password, for example. All of that can be used. All of that you have to be able to protect. All right, application blacklisting and whitelisting. You could configure your device to prevent certain applications from being installed and allow only certain applications. So anything that you're preventing your system to be downloaded and installed on your system, that will be in the blacklist. So before you download anything, I check the blacklist. If you're on the blacklist, you're not going to be installed on that system. If not, then you are allowed. Okay? So that's, I think, pretty straightforward. And you could do that also with web pages as well. You can whitelist and blacklist certain web pages. McAfee actually analyzes all of that. So websites can be whitelisted and blacklisted as well. Okay. You can do that in a group policy editor. And you can see here in a Windows-based. All right, so, or you can do sandboxing. This is important. Please write that down. So sandboxing is a technique that will allow you to run a suspicious malware and find out to see if it's safe or not. All right, so please write those 3 bullet points down. So, and also you can use Cuckoo Sandbox is a popular freeware that free malware that will allow you to create a sandbox and run malware in it. You can use any.run that also offers ability to upload malware samples for analysis, like an online sandbox as well. So we'll probably practice some of those in class as well. Create a sandbox and trying to analyze some malware. All right, so watch these videos. This is really nice videos that illustrates what I'm talking about with the sandbox. All right, and that ends Module 22. So please upload all the material that I asked you, all the notes that I asked you to, and I will see you on the next module.